Alright, I'm going to have another thought. This is going to be based on tinnitus, also neuralink. Alright, the theory in itself about what's tinnitus and neuralink, um, there's not much research into it itself, um, but there is some ideals that come within it. The ideal of itself is similar to what deep brain stimulation is. What it is, you put a probe into the brain. You go straight into the center of the brain, putting the electrodes into it. The probe stays on top. All right. Then you hook another wire going down to here and into here, which is where the battery is. Now, the battery is the same thing that you use to start the pacemaker. Now, this is where it comes into it with these things. And what happens when you put the wire into the electrodes into the brain causes an electrical stimulation to come in. Now, this was actually being used in for a patient who had Parkinson's. Where if you look up on YouTube, an old man with Parkinson's, and he had deep brain stimulation, and it is FDA approval for this. You can look it up. And what happens is that at the beginning of the video, you see his arm shaking like this. Then after the surgery, you see his hand going just like that. And even before that, he picks up a cup of water, and water will splash around, right? And that's surgery. You can hold that thing steady. Still a little jittery, but not as like extremely much. Now, come within the same way with tinnitus. Put the probe in, put the electrodes into the deep part of the brain, create electrical stimulation, parts of the brain that you need to put into, and the reduction of tinnitus comes in. Now, there has been some studies with it, and this has been going on for quite some time. For deep brain stimulation for tinnitus can make sense to itself, but see, there's a problem. If people have what's called bilateral, which means they have both ears, with unilateral, just lateral would just mean just one ear. If it becomes bilateral, one ear may not be able to get much reduction to begin with. And here's the fact. A woman on a video, actually would be two videos. One was during her surgery, when she's still awake, because they put the probe in when she's still awake. And when they put it in and they do their thing, they ask her, how's the sound of the tinnitus is? One side sound like a 1, the other one still a 5. So that shows that her tinnitus did not, one part of her ear did not go all the way down. So that, I mean, it can work, but that also means that it may not actually become the thing. Now, let's go to Neuralink. Now, Neuralink is a lot more advanced than, say, just put some simplistic mechanism into the brain. Now you have a smart computer, much like a smartphone, but a lot more gizmos into it. Now, Neuralink in itself is just supposed to be a device that allows you to have mental abilities to control electronics. Like you see your robot dog, you want to tell the command itself without speaking, just through thought. That's probably what it's going to be. Using Bluetooth technology to Bluetooth anything. I mean, like, literally. Super advanced, Neuralink commands to your electronic device. That's what its primary function was supposed to be. Now, there are some of the medical aspects into itself. One of it is actually needs to be adjusted to it is that, in its other primary function is to actually scan the brain. Pretty much. They did this so on a pig. As you probably have already seen the videos where he put an implant into the pig. they can not only just read kind of the neurological parts of the brain of the pig, but also some of the activities, including like what the pig is smelling. I mean, it can detect like the pig is smelling. We cannot tell what it is, but we can tell that it is. And it can hear. We can detect like some auditory activity going on because it's hearing things. I mean, that's so advanced that we should actually understand the human brain better. And this is probably one of the good things about tinnitus, because we can actually understand where it is. Even calling, like, say, onset. Now, onset is very difficult in tinnitus because we can't never know. Like for noise-induced people like myself, having loud noise coming into this ear and cause damage to it. The problem in itself is not only trying to find a location, but also where other sources is, because we're trying to find that sound wave that goes into the brain and cause it to bounce itself around. Now, some people can be theorized that if we can get through from the acute part of it, where it's still in the beginning stage of trying to become chronic, there may be a chance to never become chronic. You never get tinnitus. I like that idea. But what about when it's already become chronic? Now, the cure for chronic tinnitus in itself is a mystery. There are facts that we can only reduce the sound, which can be true. Now, for Neuralink, I probably concede that it may actually eliminate it. Here's why. Since they say it about like you can using Bluetooth technology to actually now stream music into your brain, no longer to your ears, like say it was an in-ear device to stream Bluetooth audio. Now it goes in your brain. Now their theory is if you can do this, you can do this to drown out your tinnitus. I like to try to think differently on that. Why not create a signal, like some sort of like electrical signal into the brain itself from the auditory cortex? If you plant it there and create the signal into that, causing it to kind of react into the tinnitus, and you actually match the tinnitus on the signal, you might have a chance to silence it. That's just a working theory. It's not a working theory. It's just a theory, but if it ever becomes like a working theory, like say the human trials will be coming out this year, and say they want to implant over into your auditory cortex. First, they want to study and everything. That's fine. That's cool. Studying on the auditory cortex and find out many different things, including tinnitus. Fact number two. Okay, now number two, maybe we can try to turn this thing into, like, say, a tinnitus eliminator into the auditory cortex. Because there's been some studies where it shows that is one part that actually keeps tinnitus going, but there's all parts of the brain that does it too. Makes sense. So when it becomes chronic, once the brain itself now becomes used to this new sound, because it creates this false sound. In order to reverse it, where you have to pretty much match up its signal or override it has to be some sort of way you can override one part of the brain that can actually create this thing. Now, like I said, the auditory cortex, maybe one part of it. Other part is the limbic system. This is part of the brain where your emotions, like reactions, responses, and all that comes into. Okay. Kind of like make an emotional response to many different things. And you have some rational thoughts into it, to rationalize into it, or don't. Kind of same for a person. Like you're arguing with a person, and you have emotional response, that part of the brain is going to amplify that, make you think of different thoughts, and then there it goes. Now, what the Neuralink would actually try to combat, try to invade in that? I don't think so. I'm for tinnitus. Now, it does affect tinnitus very much, which makes it louder. As long as you're calm and you're in control of everything, the tinnitus perception isn't going to be that great. That means the loudness and the shrewdness of the thing will not hurt you, will not bother you. If you stop thinking about it and just let it go into the background, it probably becomes silent. That's called habituation. But with Neuralink, habituation will not have to become the problem. If you put that sucker into the auditory cortex, your stream music, like how they say they want to, or play some singles into it to where it can match up to the tinnitus signal, and then just make it disappear. Then you'll only be hearing, even say you have hearing loss, then the only thing you have left is hearing aids, which would be fine. Like, okay, my tinnitus is gone. Now I need to deal with this hearing loss. I'll probably say that'd be great. But is that going to become the ideal? I don't know. That's why I made this video. Hopefully it can go out, become viral, and hopefully one Elon Musk's scientist or Elon Musk himself like, hey, this guy probably has some ideas about some things. To some degree. Now, do I believe that Neuralink will cure anything else? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that has to go into this application, for this device. Because he's putting high hopes into something that he's not sure he can. But now he is creating something that is going to become useful for the future. I may not be around for it. I may die sometime in my life. Hey. But let's say if it did came around today. Let's say if they made it like on sale today. And it's already been having all its bells and whistles into it. Would I want it? To some degree I may. That was just my tennis. That's just it. I don't want no Bluetooth screen things. Just, if I wanted to, I'll actually have something that will constantly play a song, or actually just something that can actually create like a tone where I can habituate and not actually have to deal with it. Like it will drown it out to where I don't hear it anymore. And that will make me happy. You know, this is why technology is so great. It does have some miracle properties into it. Hey, maybe we know that one day we will actually have all different types of electronics. Like I said before, you know, like I come wanted to see is like transhumanism is the thing with transhumanism is that you want to transform yourself from being human into something else. And some side will say is cyborgs. Like, okay, you know, cyborg would be great, but you know, it's like it's not the end all be all kind of like thing to have. See, one of the things about with being a cyborg that there are some good advantages, but there's also here's the pros and cons of being a cyborg. Cons, pros. Let's start with here. Enhanced strength, speed, maybe better organs, maybe probably some of your organs become like mechanical. Like they once have created a artificial heart, but that only was used for 6 months. Now, if you increase its lifespan or its function for the lifespan of say for multiple years, and just put blood fluid all around the entire body, so that way everything gets oxygen, nutrients from the red blood cells that flow through the blood stream. Then to say, I don't know, just other things. You know, like you will still have to have a stomach, so that way you need food. You know, like some parts of your body still needs nutrients. So the stomach and the intestinal system will still need to be in place. Digestive system ain't just going to go away. Still need body. Still need nutrients to keep like some of this. Are not with like say artificial limbs, eyes, ears. I mean hell. With this thing can just be eliminated if I become a cyborg. But now I lose most of my ability to become a human.